Welcome to the AFT Michigan podcast. I'm your host, Terrence Martin. Excited to be back once again for another great episode here at AFT Michigan. A lot has happened since our last episode. I am now the president here at AFT Michigan, taking over for longtime president David Hecker. And what a tremendous career he's had, such a staunch trade unionist. And I'm sure we've got to get him on at some point so that he can share with our audience some of the great things that he's experienced over his 27 years here at AFT Michigan. But we had a great celebration for him just recently, and we'll be sharing some of the pictures and videos and photos that we have from last night. But today I'm glad to have our guest, Jenell Mansfield, who's here with us today. Jenell is the political and legislative coordinator here at AFT Michigan. So welcome to the AFT Michigan podcast.
Hello, I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. And what better way to start off the new school year with talking about political action and political engagement. We're going to get into a lot of what we did last session in Lansing. But before we get into that, I just want to know a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, schooling, home life, what you want to share with our audience.
For sure. I'm Jenell Mansfield, as you said, political and legislative coordinator here with AFT Michigan. I am a proud native Detroiter from the west side of Detroit. Proud product of Detroit Public Schools when it was Detroit Public Schools, but we love Detroit Public Schools Community District as well. I was a classroom teacher. I taught middle school ELA and math, 6th grade. Funky and fun, okay? We had a lot of fun. I taught from public to public charters. I was a school social worker. I worked for Mitch Album at his after school programs. And in 2016, some crazy event happened and I fell in love with politics. And so during that election, I was volunteering on different campaigns, different things, and I met Nicole Atkins, who used to work here at AFT Michigan, working on the Elizabeth Warren campaign. And, we built a relationship, and one of my close friends was working the campaign as well. And she was like, there's going to be some opportunities, and I know you want to work more in politics. And so it was about a year between that conversation and different things, and the political and legislative coordinator position opened up. And here I am. I love Detroit. I'm a twin mom. I love to cook. And clearly I love politics and education. So, yes, that's why I'm here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here. And it's such a blessing, really, to have someone who has come from and has experience in all the different areas that you have, particularly coming from Detroit Public Schools, where it's always a tough place to work. And being a mom of twins, I mean, it's got to be difficult, right? So talk a little bit about, being a mother and being a working mom, and particularly working in politics.
Oof. It is a constant and consistent balancing act, right? Sure. My sons are 8 years old. They go to Chrysler Elementary in Spain. Elementary inside of the district, because I believe in the district, and it's why I go to Lansing and fight for our students across the state every day. They really give me that energy to see from a firsthand standpoint of like what our kids go through. Doing 5 pages of homework per kid after driving from Lansing and getting up at 7:30 to go to session, right? I think my passion is just what pushes me and my babies and the world I want to see for them, and knowing that it didn't have to be me, right? Like people who come from the west side where I come from and the schools that I went to, they don't turn into lobbyists, right? So knowing that I feel like I wear a lot of people on my back from my community, and little girls like me who may not look like me from across the state, right? Who are not in the best academic, financial situations, single mothers, it really fuels me because it's really hard sometimes, but you got to get it done.
Sure. And you've certainly done that, which is a great segue to our next question. We experienced some historic wins in Lansing this past spring. And you were certainly at the forefront of a lot of those wins, and working directly with our former president, David Hecker, along with our friends at the NBA. So talk a bit about the things that we were able to win, the victories that we had this past spring.
So I do remember this time last year, right? And we were like, okay, we're going into another political season.
Sure.
Let's just try to like stay afloat and let's get maybe Prop 3 over, right? Waking up the next morning and having a trifecta, like just totally changed the game.
Changed
and when
everything.
and when I talk about passion, I think we always talk to our members about give to PAC, knock doors, make these calls. We could do this. And it was like, no, we're going to do this. And so it took a lot of 8:30 committee meetings and 7 o'clock, happy hours to get it done. But we definitely reinstated all the prohibited subjects of bargaining for teachers across the state. We repealed PA 54, which stagnates wages and health care when there's an expiration in the contract. We restored bargaining rights to teachers hired after 2019 in Detroit Public Schools Community District, which we know that's a major win. We also got the $94 million literacy lawsuit paid out to Detroit Public Schools Community District, and working with community and several other coalition partners to get that done.
Yes.
As a labor win, we repealed White to Work, we reinstated prevailing wage. Elliott Larson, we extended protections for LGBTQIA communities, and we got some more wins coming in the pipeline for our higher education staff with our graduate student research assistants. We got that all the way through the Senate, through House labor, through testimony, and it only needs maybe 1 or 2 more votes before we send it to the governor. So a lot of wins and even more to come.
Monumental wins. And I was a teacher in Detroit Public Schools, actually working for the Detroit Federation of Teachers at the time on staff when we lost all of these things. And I never thought that we'd ever get them back.
Yeah.
And there are many folks just like me who were shocked and surprised, but also excited about the opportunity to really win those things back. And we'll have K-12 locals and members, leaders who are going to be fighting when these things are enacted this spring to try to get those things back in collective bargaining agreements. And so wins in Lansing can actually turn into wins at the bargaining table.
Absolutely.
So I know our members are looking forward to it. Our leaders are looking forward to it. And we have you and many others to thank for that hard work.
Thank you.
So look, I mean, these are great wins that we experienced in Lansing. We talk a lot about what happened when we were there, but how did we get here? And you kind of touched on it a little earlier about the things that it takes to really get these sort of victories. And they start, with pounding the pavement and asking people for money and making sure that we elect the right people to make great decisions for us. So talk a little bit about how we actually get to the point where we can have these victories.
Yes. Building our political muscle as a federation is contingent on our locals building their political muscles, right? And so the first step for me is to identify someone in your local who is passionate about politics, who you know is already going to the party meetings or active on the issues, or just likes to talk a lot and wants to learn and is curious. Sure. We need political coordinators, right? They are the backbone and they are that tentacles that we have into our locals to let us know, how are you feeling about these issues, right? I like to say that Lansing can be a bubble. Right? And everybody thinks their issue is the most important issue. Till you're talking to a parapro and they're telling you, well, I had, 27 kids in the class. And the teacher, I've been subbing every day because the teacher's been out on maternity leave, right? Like the stories can just grow and grow and grow. And so we need those political coordinators who have those real life experiences, who have hands on other members in the local to connect them to the politics, to make it real world. And we want to take those political coordinators and I want to train them. So I want to train them and I want to get them comfortable having these relational conversations, right? Because like I said, it feels much better coming from someone you know than from me or even from you, even though they might love us. Sure. But, it's the connectivity. And so we want to train them and get them the skills to have the right conversations, to get not only comfortable with the other membership, but with electeds, right? Yep. So we have, for example, our Macomb locals last semester came together and hosted all of their elected official, nonpartisan, all of the locals in Macomb County came together, and they had a panel. They had questions.
Yes.
They really flexed their muscles. Like, we are the teachers in Macomb, and we have a voice, right? And it was the political coordinators who came together to do that.
Yeah.
And so not only were there this beautiful conduit to the membership, and the leadership of the local, but also our electeds.
Yeah.
Which also leads us to PAC fundraising.
Now this is the part where folks don't want to hear. It's probably the most difficult thing that we go through here in this office, asking people for money. So talk a bit about that.
It's hard. People don't want to hear no. Unless your inflation is real, the cost of living is real.
Yes.
And it's hard for people, especially with us winning a Democratic trifecta for the first time in 40 years, to really feel like, is my money going to something that's causing a change in my life?
That's right.
But now we have the wins. So now we can ask our members confidently, hey, donate to us as we advocate, and not just a specific party or a specific issue. We advocate for our members' issues.
That's right.
Right? That's right. No matter who it is, we will donate. We maybe even will endorse if they are aligned with our ideals and what will propel our members in the workplace, right? So we need them to give money. And our PAC coordinators, we will train them on how to ask, who they can train other members of the locals to ask. There's many ways to give, whether you want to give cash, whether you want to give online, you want to set up to have it come out of your account. We need our members giving. And what I like to tell members is that we know campaign finance laws exist. And there are some people taking full advantage.
They are.
We have to show up.
Yep.
And as AFT, we love to say, we show up, we fight, and we win. We're not winning without any money.
We're not. So how about we just go through like a mini training, right? What do we say to our PAC coordinators who are having conversations with members? And those members are saying, look, I appreciate you coming to my classroom, coming to my workspace, but I just want to teach. I just want to be a para. I just want to be a bus driver. I'm not political at all. I don't want anything to do with politics. What kind of messaging do we arm our political coordinators with to address folks who feel that way?
My first talking point that I give to our political coordinators is, when people want to be apolitical, tell them that to be in solidarity with your coworkers is a political action. To be a member of a local union is a political action. As we see our brothers and sisters striking with the UAW and exercising their voice, as we hear about people across the country wanting to unionize, is a political action. And it doesn't have to be aligned with the party. It doesn't have to be aligned with a certain set of proposals, but more so what is fair and right for workers. And so, like I said, all politics is local, so aligning them that by being a member, you're already involved in a political action. So, and don't you want to say in what's going on in our school or in our campus community or our hospital environment, right? And not only be involved politically, okay, we hear about the federal and the state, but you have boards.
That's right.
You have regents. You have all of these people that have a say in your workplace, and that is political action. We have this muscle we have because we've organized through political systems to get people in these roles that are our allies. And so that's what I always tell my political coordinators too. Don't you want to have a segue to your boss's boss? Give to PAC, And then you get to endorse. And endorsement, usually people want endorsement, they not only want your name, but they do want a donation.
Sure.
What about when you really love a candidate or something is really happening passionate in your district and you want to have a say, and now you have no political capital, you have no money, and you want to go ask for something. So tell them that there's always going to be something that impacts them and they need to be connected. And that beyond that, we are a movement. And if we don't move together, we don't move at all,
And if you're not inspired by that message to become a political coordinator, I don't know what will get you. But very, very passionate words and true words that you have spoken. And, we're really encourage our members to be involved politically and exercise your voice. Because as Jenell said, we're starting to see very bold action from other unions, and we certainly want to support them. But we also have issues and things that we want to see happen in our classrooms and in our workspaces all across this state as a state federation.
Absolutely.
So look, we had all these great wins in Lansing this past spring, and the challenge for us is going to be, how do we keep it?
How do we keep it?
How do we keep it? How do we make sure that this trifecta remains, that we have the level of influence that we have on issues in Lansing, that our members are constantly engaged, because you mentioned it, exercising that muscle.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that we need to do to make sure that we keep this political influence that we had in Lansing?
First thing we need to do is donate to PAC. We need to be running PAC campaigns in our locals. Our federation, we will be running a series of PAC campaigns throughout our federation. We want to show up to the table and be able to show up with everyone else. So we will be raising money, and we will be fundraising aggressively, because we also are in a presidential campaign. And we know that every race matters, unless politics are very local, but we care about everything to the very top of the ticket. So we really want to see some major wins in our fundraising next year. But also, when we make the call to knock the doors, we need our members to answer.
That's right.
Pound the pavement with us. You know, talk to other members, other people in the community who care about these issues, because like I said, they want to talk to you. And that's my favorite part. I love doors. I will wear some shoes out talking to my people, okay? And it's always fun. We could do it across labor, because we do a lot of doors where it's not only us. We're knocking on doors for SCIU, Ask Me, right? And to hear other stories for people in this movement. And we also need, for when it's time to come to Lansing and advocate, after we've sent those people there, come talk to them. These lobby days are for you. We need them to show up on our lobby and advocacy days, and I think we'll have a winning formula in 2024, right?
Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about the lobby days. I know one of the things that was very instrumental in getting those wins were hearing from workers, and we had a number of folks who testified in Lansing, in front of the Senate, in front of the House. Some folks who are listening, members who are listening, may be somewhat intimidated by that whole process. So let's try to demystify it, right? Let's try to demystify that. Explain the process, sort of describe it, and talk about some of the things that you know, or the ways that's impactful for winning the things that we need to win for working class people.
Absolutely. So in Lansing, when a bill comes up, for example, with our prohibited subjects of bargaining bills, they want to hear testimony from people in real life who have been impacted by these issues as to why they should vote for these bills. And it goes onto the record. It is recorded in the notes of the Michigan State Legislature, if it's in the House or the Senate, so they could be accessed forever. So you're getting your voice on record, and you elect these people. You are their boss, right? They work for you. So they should want to hear from you. And I know it's nerve-wracking, but honestly, they should be more nervous to hear from you, because you live in their district and you're afflicted by these issues, and they have to answer for that. So I always tell my members, like, you got to have the attitude, like, I'm kind of the boss here, you know? And it doesn't have to be in a mean way, but it's okay for you to air your grievances and the things you need when this person is here to help you. So usually when a bill comes up, like with prohibited subjects, I reach out to members or local leaders that I know have access to members that have been impacted by whatever the issue is on the bill. We totally support you every way. From the moment I get your name and your email address and you agree, I'm sending you talking points. I'm having you write over your statement. We're reading it together. It's really a joint process, and there'll be other people there, from whether it's other AFT members, MEA members, other labor members, so you won't be alone. And because we have allies, the community is super welcoming and friendly. That's right. And many of them are old educators and love to hear from real people in the field. And so once we get up there, we meet you at the session, make sure you have your coffee, your donuts, and you're comfortable. And we sit with you through the whole entire thing. And some people who are more uncomfortable, they can go up with their maybe local leader, or I'll go up with them and I won't speak, but give them that space. And they're always so like powerful at the end.
That's right.
And my favorite part is usually after testimony, electeds will come up to members and like thank them so emphatically. And it really makes them feel like, what was I nervous for? You know, it's a very empowering situation. And I will say this, a lot of the stories that were shared in committee came back to me Like when I would go into my legislative one-on-ones with a lot of electeds, they would bring these stories up, and they would want to know people's information. They would want to, follow up with them. So it really just it speaks. It allows our members to speak truth to power in a way that they deserve, and it's just really great.
Yeah, and they obviously remembered because I've heard from legislators and saying, hey, we really appreciate your members coming. I used that analogy that one of your members shared in an argument that I was making with some of my Republican colleagues, right? And so I can also remember the days when I was up in Lansing testifying and there was Republicans up, and we're nonpartisan, but it was a less of a friendly environment during that time. And so it's friendly fire. Folks really want to hear from you, and I'm very happy and glad that you were there to kind of make people feel comfortable. So we're coming to the tail end of this episode. How about you tell the audience like a little known fact about yourself?
A little known fact about myself. I have a 20-year-old daughter.
Okay.
She's my cousin. I adopted her in like the 7th grade. She went to Cass Tech. She's also a DPSCD alumni.
All right.
All my babies. She is a sophomore at Morgan State. She's a business major, and we kind of grew up together. But she's my best friend, and she's always like, "What do you do again?" She wants to work for a big corporation, so I guess she saw me being a teacher. She's like, "Girl, I want to make some money." So, but she's one of my other favorite people in the world. But yeah.
All right. Fantastic.
I got one last thing though.
Sure.
Give to AFT Michigan's PAC at aftmichigan.org/PAC.
And that link will be on the episode at the bottom, our lower thirds. So we'll have that link for our members to donate there. So you'll see that once at the bottom of this episode. So I guess if I did that, I'll be pointing right to it once this episode is produced. Listen, it's going to be extremely important for our locals to build political power. And one of the ways that we do that is through our training efforts here at AFT Michigan. And so, again, we just encourage members to get your political coordinators, come get the training so that we can build great political program, continue to win great things in Lansing, and just as importantly, we win something in Lansing, we want to make sure that it's codified. In collective bargaining agreements all across this state. And so this is what we're here for. Very happy to be able to bring you this episode today. It's been fun talking to you, Jenell. I hope that the members found this very informative. Hey, this has been another episode of the AFT Michigan podcast. Signing off for now. We'll see you soon.